11 o'clock. This is Worksession on recycling. And let's go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Jennifer Johnston, Assembly.
Ernie Hall, Assembly.
Amy Demboski, Assembly.
Paul Holden, Assembly.
Tim Steele.
Elby Gray Jackson.
Patrick Flynn.
So each of you, we kind of asked you to come today and sort of make a presentation of what you're doing as far as recycling in the community. And if I can have you come up one at a time, you have to come up to the table here so they can all be on the tape and we can hear you. And if you have any handouts, be sure to give them to the clerk. And why don't we just start in the front row and go around. And as you come up, please introduce yourselves and who you represent.
I'm Shane Duran. I represent the Central companies, which would be Central Environmental, Central Recycling, Central Monofill Services. Our company's been in business in Anchorage since the early 80s. Central Recycling was started in 08-09 as a construction demolition recycling firm. Since 09, we've been collecting construction demolition debris around town. That's expanded into industrial materials, other inert debris. We now collect materials from all over the state of Alaska, bring them to our facility down off of Ship Creek. We process, recycle the materials. We're diverting about 77% of what comes through our gate is made into other products, other materials, whether it's road-based scrap metals that are exported, plastics, cardboards that are exported. Last season we were able to restart the glass recycling in Anchorage with the help of Alpar. So now we're collecting glass, or receiving the glass that Alpar and the Muni's collecting and recycling it into road-based pipe bedding material. Last year we did about 35,000 tons of material came to our facility that was processed. Most of that material would have otherwise gone into the landfill. We've expanded the last several years to collect material from all over the state. We're bringing a lot of materials in from Prudhoe Bay, the North Slope. Pebble Mine sends material to us. Some of the rural communities, projects outside of town. We're employing, it's kind of seasonal depending on the volumes that come in, but between 15 and 30 people down at our facility in Anchorage. As we've grown, we had been taking the residual, the material that was no longer recyclable from our facility, was going to solid waste services to the regional landfill. We built our business model around a municipal ordinance that allowed a rebate on the residual materials from a recycle facility. One of our biggest obstacles as we've grown is we're creating more and more of this residual material from our facility that needs to be disposed of. We kind of have a differing reading of that ordinance with the municipality and have not been getting the rebate in the form that we thought we should. That and just it isn't very responsible to take the material that we've sorted and screened and processed and now mix it back in with the residential waste. The residue that comes from our facility is an inert material. There's nothing putrescent in it, nothing that rots, nothing hazardous. And by DEC regulations, it's allowed to go into a monofill, which is a fill site for a single particular type of material that's non-putrescent and doesn't leach. So it's allowed to go in that type of facility, and we've been taking it to the regional landfill where we're all paying for these cells and a leachate collection system, and you're paying for this large system to handle municipal waste that this really isn't a municipal waste and doesn't have to go in there. So we've been working towards developing monofill sites where this residual waste can go, and we've been working on one of those in Chugiak with the Eklutna Native Corporation, one in the Matsu Valley. We got one in operation last summer in Salcha. So our biggest obstacle right now is having a place to go with the residual. We've had a lot of success with Alpar and the state of Alaska in coming up with specifications and places to use these materials we're creating from our waste. But this disposal side of it needs to be solved for our operation to continue and grow. So that's kind of the quick, broad overview.
Paul?
residual material, is there other purposes that can be used for, or is it, you've done everything that can be done recyclable wise, and we couldn't ship it, like, say, to another place that has an ability to use that, or is it, or in your opinion?
Right now, there's nothing of value left in it. There's several outfits that have been working with us on some biomass facilities, doing a biomass to energy, or creating a fuel source out of this material. It would take another step of processing of it. Right now, that just doesn't work, but I could see in the next 5 to 10 years that 23% that we're throwing away right now could be reduced down to a 10 or 12%.
So that would be my next question, is there someone willing to, maybe it's included in the appropriation some other place that would be a holding facility for that material that could later be used to convert to biomass or things?
These monofills we're working on permitting, that material will be put into those monofills, and potentially it could be mined later for that use. Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, and I'm sure your website has a lot of the information on it.
The website has a lot of information. We give tours. Kauai Alpha here works with me. And
What's your website?
It's centralrecyclingservices.com.
And each of you, I think most have had email contact with myself or the clerk, but you might send your contact information to the clerk so she can send it to each of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move right along. Mary, do you want to go first, or, I mean, go now, or?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
I have a number of these copies, and I'll give the rest to the clerk.
Maybe you can just give them to us and we'll just pass it down.
I can follow along. This is just kind of an overview. I'm Mary Fisher. I'm the Executive Director of Alpar. I'm the only employee of Alpar. So I'm going to just give you a quick overview of the programs that we partner with the municipality and solid waste services on, so you kind of get a feel for how we fit into the picture, and then give you an idea of all the other things that we do too. The most important piece of the recycling puzzle that Alpar provides for Anchorage is the backhaul of recyclables to the lower 48. That's an expensive move, ocean move for recyclables. It always has been, always will be. And the shippers have generously donated for the last 25 or so years a certain level of donated loads to move those materials southbound. Last year we moved 1,052 vans, and that was for Anchorage recyclables. So this is really one of the more crucial pieces of what we call a subsidy, basically, a subsidy for the recycling system, because we are located so far away from markets that this subsidy helps put us more on line with the economics that, say, Seattle or Portland, or closer anyway. We're not as big as Seattle and Portland. A lot of the recyclers down there remind me when I talk about grand schemes that you could fit Anchorage in the backyard of Tacoma. But that being said, we're really on par as far as the economics go with some of those communities in the lower 48 because of that backhaul. So it's really important. And the piece that the muni plays in that is to reimburse the wharfage fees or the port fees that are paid by the shippers to move those vans to the Port of Anchorage. And the way that's done is, instead of waiving those port fees, the shippers pay the port fees, and then we reimburse them for those port fees, and that money comes from solid waste services and the recycling tip fee. Last year it was about $36,000, and so the value of that backhaul is estimated conservatively at $2.5 million a year, and the Muni's contribution to that backhaul is about $36,000. So it's a good deal for the Muni. It's a really good deal for people of Anchorage. Glass recycling, I have great things to say about Central Recycling Services. It has been a pleasure to work with them and the Muni, and I want to remind you that this is not just an Alpar Central Recycling program. It's a Alpar Muni Central Recycling Service program, as well as Rock 10. It's a group effort. There is absolutely no question. Alpar and the Muni have teamed up to pay for the hauling and a tiny bit of the processing of those materials, so we have a drop-off system that can handle them. And then we do all the outreach or some of the outreach to educate the public about the glass recycling drop-off. This is one of our biggest successes in Anchorage in this past year or so. I can't say enough how many people have stopped us, called us, and said thank you for getting this back on track. And it really took a village to do that. So thank you for your part in that, because it was really key. So that's going really well. The volume is higher than we expected. Last month, 96 tons of glass came in. And so far this year, we've collected over 600 tons of glass. So it's a very popular program. I don't know if that means that Anchorage drinks a lot, but
A lot of wine.
but they sure like to recycle that glass. The other programs that we work on together is like Christmas tree recycling. That's a partnership program between Alpar and the Muni. We do all the work and you give us some of the money. So it's a $39,000 program every year. It's kind of pricey. We get a lot of donated in-kind for promotion and those kinds of things, but that costs the Muni about $12,000. Oh, darn, I didn't turn my phone on. I apologize. Pay no attention. So my job is to help increase volume and awareness across Alaska, not just in Anchorage. So what's been extremely helpful and important is the recycling coordinator's position that was created 5 or 6 years ago, because the need for recycling services and technical support and outreach is more needed in rural Alaska and some of the smaller communities than it is in Anchorage. We still need it, but it's good for us to be sharing that burden of funding and outreach and education with the municipality. So I can't say enough how important the recycling surcharge is to the recycling system in Anchorage. We have a pretty solid, robust system here. It could grow faster than it is, but it's pretty solid and robust, and we have a funding mechanism that's really well designed to help provide services that's demanded by the public that the value of the materials will never cover. The recycling system is a high volume, low profit, commodity-based industry, and it requires in all communities some support from that is community-based that makes that system robust. For things like glass. Okay?
I just briefly, and I know we probably don't have enough time to go through all of it, but, and I read that with interest, as well as the new glass recycling, which I laud the efforts to get that accomplished. What are we using the glass for locally, and are there any plans for the future to go into that?
Central Recycling is selling the glass as a aggregate for a number of different projects. It's being used in projects as we speak. It's designed to be used as fill, backfill, road base, and drainage media. Patrick?
Very good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Has there been any time value calculation on the capital side for avoidance of material going to landfill? That is, the delay in closure and therefore the delay in capital need for the next landfill? It's okay. if
I
it's
don't
slow.
think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I do know that Solid Waste Services is working on doing a study in waste sort now, and they'll probably, from that study and waste sort, we'll start to get to that number, but we haven't done that yet.
Thank you.
Elvie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm excited about recycling, period, and I'll be honest, and I said this before curbside recycling, I didn't recycle, and I just love it. It's just a wonderful thing. There's no curbside recycling for glass, and I'm feeling a little bit guilty. Where is the facility?
You can recycle glass right now at the Anchorage Recycling Center. I know that Solid Waste Services has plans to start having glass recycling at
So
the
you can just
landfill
drop it
as
off
well.
there.
So you have to take it.
Okay,
And there's no plans at this point in time for a curbside glass route.
not right now. Okay, I look forward to that day, but I may.
We can do that
I may
if you
get
want
out.
to.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we need to move on. One question, and you can do this offline, but at some point, I think it would be interesting to, if there is a survey of carbon footprint and what kind of recycling, the benefits of the carbon footprint, if you ever have that.
Well, there are lots of studies about that.
So, I mean, just, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Madam Chair. My name is Randy Virgin. I'm the GM of the Rock 10 Anchorage Recycling Center. Rock 10 is one of the largest recyclers in North America. We have 28 facilities around the country. Here in Anchorage, we operate a full-service community recycling center. It's located on Rosewood off of Dowling. It's near the roundabout of Dowling and New Seward. I hope you're all familiar with it. It's been a part of the Anchorage community in some form or fashion since the early 80s. Rock 10 purchased the current facility, I want to say in 2011. We accept all major grades of paper, two major grades of plastic, or several major grades of plastic. We are the collection point for the glass, which then goes down to Shane's operation to be processed. We also accept and buy metals. We're also the main collection point for the commingled curbside recycling program that we're all really happy exists. I know in my household it's a big deal as well. So we accept all that material as well. So most of the kind of public residential recycling that's generated comes to our facility here in Anchorage. We ship approximately 25,000 tons of material a year. So I think speaking to your question, Shane's processing 35,000 tons a year, and we're processing 25,000 tons a year. So that gives you an idea of what's, just between those two operations, what's staying out of the landfill. Our biggest challenge historically has been distance to market. I'm sure that's no surprise to you. It's a long story in Alaska. I think the story that Mary told speaks to how Anchorage is one of the most unique situations in terms of how we've overcome that challenge. And I think Mary gets calls from remote communities all over the place seeking to understand this model and to duplicate this model because it is really cutting edge, and people around the country are kind of amazed at how we've managed to pull this off. There is public support, but the public is a minority partner in this effort, and I think that's really remarkable. So that continues to always, it's always a factor. In the last year, the industry has changed a bit. I think this is useful to share. The new government in China has implemented incredibly strict new quality standards for waste paper and plastics that are exported to China for processing at mills. So we're seeing a move industry-wide towards much more stringent requirements. For example, in a trailer load of paper, you typically could have a certain percentage of what's called contaminants, a piece of plastic or something that stays in there from the sorting process. And they've ratcheted that allowable percentage down to almost zero. So there's just a move across the industry and a lot of capital investment being contemplated across the industry of how we're going to meet these higher standards, and we're accepting that they're here to stay. So the industry is changing, and there's a renewed focus on quality and keeping non-target materials out of what you're shipping. And there's also just been an economic slowdown in China that's expected to sort of continue, which is affecting the marketplace as well. I bring that up because we in Anchorage have relatively very clean material, and we have for a long time. There's been a sustained effort going back years and years and years in Anchorage of public education, recycle it right campaigns, talking to community councils, talking to kids in schools, unlike a lot of other communities. And I can tell you, when I go to meetings with my company, the people from places like Torrance and San Jose are really envious of how well Anchorage has done as a community and how clean our material is. And that's good, because when the market turns down, you want to have first position in the mill. You want to be able to market your material. And when China cranks down those standards, and they just do it by fiat. I mean, one day it's this standard, and the next day it's 10% lower. I mean, it's not good. You want to be able to continue to move your material, and we're in a position where we can do that. So, the freight haulers, nonprofits, the city, everybody really works together here. The different private entities work together really well. It's unique, and we're happy to be, I think, in partnership, by and large. And like I said, the city's contribution is, to me, I agree with Mary, is critical. Public education is critical. The financial support is critical. And she made a good point that I really think the city is a minority partner financially. The private sector is really carrying a lot of this weight in making this work. But there's no doubt that without the partnerships that we've crafted and the way that everyone's working together, we would not have momentum in Anchorage. That's true.
Paul?
Do you see a day where we're not shipping as much because there perhaps is something going on locally or in the state to recycle, turn that material into something?
Absolutely. We all want to see that happen. The market here is just incredibly small compared to what a mill, we've looked into this a lot. A mill to process plastics is an incredibly large facility, and they handle volumes much larger than what we could generate in Anchorage in a year. And they just, they need that stuff on those kind of volumes on a monthly basis. We do have some local industry. The glass is staying local. Our preference is if there's someone local who wants to buy our material, we'll always sell it there first. And most of our newspaper stays in state, for example. Cardboard, plastics, that stuff right now is still going out of state, and it's going to be a long way before we have the kind of scale that we would need to get there.
Be nice for an industry.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's see, Mr. Zirkle? And just, we've got some material from the school district, and if we can't get to them today, we'll do that when solid waste services come in.
Hi there, I'm Larry Zirkle. I'm the general manager for Total Reclaim. Total Reclaim is a privately owned business based out of Seattle. We have facilities in Arizona, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. We started the company up here in 2005. The reason we started 2005 is because we were working with Green Star previously for 3 of the largest e-recycling events in the nation. We were doing about 300,000 pounds 300,000 pounds in 3 days. That's about 50 40-foot container loads of material going southbound. So we thought there was a need to maybe open up a site up here. I've been in Anchorage since 1987. So I started the facility in 2005 out of a garage at my house in Midtown. And we currently now have a facility about 10,000 square feet. We have 7 full-time employees, and we bring on part-time employees as needed. We are a recycler of, it's a specialty because we do electronics, we do lamps, we do batteries, we do plastics of some sort that we receive in from the electronics. All of our stuff is shipped out to the lower 48. We're currently paying for all of our shipping. We've been doing that since 2005. We do about, I want to say about 120 containers, 53-foot containers going southbound a year, which for electronics it's a lot. Each week we're doing about 50,000 pounds of electronics / lamps, batteries going southbound to our plant in Seattle. Where we get our help, what hurts us is the commodity pricing. When we started Total Reclaim, we were charging 35 cents a pound for everything. As the commodity prices went up, we were able to discount that rate. We really try to help give back to the community So currently, we're really only charging for TVs, which has lead, a lot of other bad stuff. But the prices of computers, there is precious metals in those. So if the commodity goes up, then we're able to discount that price. In 2009 was beautiful. We had a very good industry. Commodity pricing was very, very nice. An example of the copper, bright copper, and I'm looking at the other recyclers, that was up over about $4 a pound. Good monies. That's why all the copper thieves were happening. It's currently down almost to below $2. So as we ramped up, all of us ramped up, now all of a sudden we're being held hostage because of the commodity. You asked about shipping it and getting an industry up here. It would be nice, but EPA has a lot of regulations, and therefore developing some type of industry for what I do or the metals is not cost effective. However, a deep sea port would be very lucrative to all of us because now we can ship direct to the other countries. We have a high standard of electronics and regulations. We are bound by E-Stewards, which is a very difficult certification to get, R2 certification, and we're also ISO 14001 certified. And what that means is basically we're not shipping to third world countries. We're actually having to break down our material, and we have to share with anybody and everybody where we send our material, and they all have to be certified in order for us to make sure we're not sending the waste to third world countries. But who's buying the material? China, Korea. So if we had a deep sea port available to us, then our commodity pricing is going to go up. What we're able to pay for, our commodities here, the copper, whatever, it's much less than what we're getting paid for in Seattle. So that's hurting us as a recycler because, as others people said, it changes on a daily basis. So Total Reclaim, we had to look at the commodity pricing dropping, so we actually started taking non-ferrous metals. We do over 6,000 refrigerators a year at our facility where we reclaim the refrigerant. We work with mechanical contractors, take back refrigerants. So we're looking to adapt to keep our business alive. We don't have a marketing, we don't have sales. Where we get our sales is from, the Alpar, the Green Star, the Alaska Zero Waste flyer that goes out. When that goes out, that's when we see a huge influx of material coming in our doors. So we do thank you for that. And like I said, that's pretty much it. I see what they're saying.
Any other questions? We have one other presenter, except we're now out of time, and I was afraid of this. So I'll be scheduling another one of these sessions, and it will also be with Solid Waste Services. And we'll ask each of you if you want to come back then, be part of it, and enjoy the discussion, and thank you.
Who did we miss? Schnitzer or somebody else?
We had some metal recyclers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I know those guys. It's okay.
No, and I apologize, but we okay. And if, as I say, all of you, if you could send any material you want to share with the assembly with the clerk, including websites and anything that you felt that maybe you missed or you wanted to add to your presentation, please do that also.
Thanks for your support and your interest.
Thank you.
Okay.